Hi everybody, I'm Leah of seejanedrill. In today's video, well, we're going to sharpen a chisel. And this is what I will tell you right off the bat. If you talk to 10 different people about how they sharpen their chisels, you're going to get 10 different answers. Because it's very, very personal. And people do what works best for them. Now, I'm going to share with you my method of keeping my chisels nice and sharp. But what I will tell you is the best way to keep a sharp chisel is to keep a sharp chisel. So if you look right down here, you'll see a set of chisels I purchased at a yard sale this summer. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to get them in condition and ready to use because I haven't used them yet. And since I don't know how the previous owner treated his chisels, I'm going to just act like they're new and start fresh, okay? So let's start the process. So here's my system. These are the things that I use. Now, some people are very elaborate. That's not me. This is my system. So first up is a block of wood with a piece of leather attached to my leather strop, okay? This is stropping compound here. Now this is, I'm going to pick it up so you can see it. This is a honing guide, and this is what your chisels rest in if you elect to use a guide. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I just freehand it. This is my sharpening jig, and it's very simplistic. It's just on a 2x4. Nothing could be easier than that, right? Now these two things are diamond stones, and this is a dual diamond stone because on one side I've got fine, and on the other side I have medium coarse. This is a super fine diamond stone. Now, I've got it set up so it's long enough to clamp down so when I'm working my chisel, okay, it's not sliding all over the place. So if you take a look at this is looks like a little wing. It's attached to the 2x4, and if you come down here, okay, to the other end, there's another one. And what they're there for is when I'm using a honing guide, it allows me to set the angle of the chisel blade to 25 degrees or at the other end 30 degrees. Last but not least, what I have here is a spray bottle, and it's got a 50-50 mix of water and simple green, which is just a, all-purpose cleaner, but it works really, really well for removing and floating away those filings that come off your chisel, okay? They call it swarf. And what I like about it is that it's non-toxic and biodegradable. So that's what I use. This is the chisel that we're going to sharpen, and I'm going to do freehand, okay? And freehand means simply that I find the bevel and I sharpen without the assistance of a guide. Now, there's nothing wrong with using a guide, okay? You may want to start off by using a lot of people swear by these things, okay? This guide costs about $15. They go up in price. The more expensive ones are very, very accurate. The cheaper ones, well, you got to modify them a little bit. So keep that in mind if you go with a cheaper model. And the way they work is it sets the angle. Let me just set it up real quick for you, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I've got my chisel in the guide. It's sliding freely, okay? Now comes time for me to set the angle. Remember I was telling you about those little wings? Well, that little wing there allows me to set the angle of the chisel. So you tighten it up there, okay? And once it's tightened, and you might want to put a flat-headed screwdriver on there to really tighten it up because you really want this guide to really grab hold of the chisel, okay? Once it's tightened, then there's a little roller here on the back. And that little roller rides the stone at a certain angle, okay? And it just keeps you on track. And like I said, some people prefer this. So that's how one of those guides work, all right? Now, I prefer to freehand, and freehand is simply just finding the angle. So we're going to start off by flattening the back of the chisel, because again, these came from a yard sale, and I'm not certain about how the owner did his chisels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by just spraying the stone. And this stone here, this side is medium coarse, all right? And I'm just going to start off by moving my chisel back and forth on the side. Back and forth. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Well, I can see right now that I need to do a little bit more work. So let me spray the stone again. All right. And let's keep going. Now, if you're wondering what we're looking for when you flatten the back of a chisel, okay, the first thing I want to tell you is this. You don't have to flatten the whole chisel. You only really concerned about just the tip of it, about 1 inch. We want this leading edge here, the front of the chisel, to be flat, because that's what you're concerned about. I've got a little bit of a hollow here, all right? So I've got to work on this just a little bit more. So there we go. I'm making progress. It's looking pretty good. Just a few more passes and I'll be fine. If you notice, there's just a little bit of a hollow there. It's not exactly flat. I'm going to try to take that out just a little bit more. So that's it. That looks pretty good. Now it's time for us to move on. And what I'll do is I'll flip the stone over to the other side. Now this is medium coarse, and this side over here, this side is fine. Now I'm just going to continue on. Okay, I think that's pretty close. Let's take a look. It looks good. It's time to move on to the next stone. Okay, now it's time for me to move on to my super fine diamond stone. That's what this is here. Let me spray it down with a little. Okay, and we just do the same thing. All right. It's not going to take as much. Now that we've got the back of the chisel flattened, now it's time to concentrate on the bevel, okay? Now, remember I say I do it freehand, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to find the bevel angle. So what I do is I take my chisel, I lay it flat, and then I slowly tip it forward until I feel it rest flat against the diamond stone, okay? Then I know I have my proper angle. Then I just work my way through all the surfaces. I go with the medium coarse, then I go to my fine, and then to my super fine. Okay, now let me just stop here and tell you this. One of the ways you know that it's time to change stones is you'll be looking for a burr on the back. Now I'm going to flip it over because you may be able to see it. So this little black line here, that's the burr. And if I hold it flat against my hand and I pull it, you'll feel a little stubble there. So you know that the diamond stone is doing exactly what it needs to do. Now I'm going to remove that burr. Now we're moving on. I'm going to flip the stone over to the fine side. And I got to spray this down. Get those metal filings off. So what I'm going to do the same thing, just tip it forward till I steady it. I find that angle. And now I'm just going to see if I can just pull it off. Okay, so this diamond stone, this is super fine. And so what I'm going to do, same thing, just find that angle, tip it forward. Once I feel comfortable with it, I do. Now I just start working it. Now we're going to move on to the last phase. This is the leather strap on the block, and I'm going to put it in a vise here and clamp it in. Okay. Now once it's clamped in, good and solid, then you take your stropping compound, that's what this is here, and I'm going to charge the leather. Charging is just loading it. It's just another term for loading it. So we're going to charge it up. All right. Okay, so I've got my chisel. I'm going to grab hold of it firmly, and I'm going to really put my weight into it, and I'm going to pull toward me. Now, stropping will polish this further, polish my finish edge further. So here we go. Like I said, just pull toward you. So there's our finished chisel. Isn't that beautiful? If a chisel could be beautiful, this chisel is beautiful. This is it. It's time for the paper test. We'll see how sharp this thing is. Here we go, our paper test. Now you can't beat that, can you? So that's it. That's my routine for getting a chisel, and in this case, a chisel that's seen some use, a used chisel that I got from a yard sale, getting it up to snuff, getting it ready to use, okay? Now, I want to say, if you have a routine that's different, how about sharing it in the comments below? Let me know and others know how you get your chisels nice and sharp and ready to go. Now, what I'll do is I'll place a link in the description below to all the items that you've seen in this video. Make it easier for you to maybe, check things out for yourself. This is Leah saying you can do this. See you next time.